Canada announcing new 25% counter tariffs on about $21 billion worth of U.S.-made products. This comes after President Trump went ahead with 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports. Canada's new levies go into effect at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday and affect steel, aluminum, and other U.S.-made products. We want to dive into the impact those tariffs have and they might have on U.S. consumers, and speaking specifically what it means for the U.S. autos industry. Here with more, we've got Greg Migliore, who is the editorial director at AutoGuide. Greg, great to get your insights and great to grab some time with you as always here. So what is perhaps the broad scale read here on the impact of tariffs, especially on these aluminum and steel tariffs that have been put forward between the U.S. and Canada, how that dovetails through to vehicles?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me, Brad. And I think aluminum and steel are, they're two fundamental parts of the car itself. They're structural. There's no way of getting around it. So by adding tariffs, they're simply going to raise the cost of vehicles and the cost it takes to make these vehicles, which will likely be passed along to consumers. So it's a major disruption for the automotive market, for consumers, for the automakers who are trying to figure out how they can price their vehicles competitively. And I think it definitely could cause, a pinch in sales for the rest of the year. We'll see. It all depends on if the tariffs actually go into place, if they're pulled back, and what the long-term ramifications of them would be.
What did we see last time? Because this is not our first time within the past 10 years having to run the calculus around what percentage of that cost would get passed on to consumers and how materially the prices would change for vehicles, or even for parts if you're getting your vehicle serviced.
Yeah, so last time was a bit of an outlier because during the first Trump administration, there was a lot of tariff actions and disagreements and all of that. But then what happened is we ran right into COVID, and that completely upended the supply chain. You might remember the chip shortage, which automakers found a way to navigate, and it's a serious disruption. Now, what's I think sort of unique about aluminum and steel in particular is, again, they're a fundamental part of a vehicle. With chips, as important as they are, with software, with different systems that are used, you could actually make vehicles in a different way. You could adjust, you could hold some back. It wasn't ideal, but it was doable. It was adaptable. With these two raw materials, which automakers have been sourcing for over a century, they have their ways of doing it. It's very hard for them to turn on a dime and try to figure out how to adapt to the latest sort of tariff.
And so with that in mind, what should consumers expect as they're trying to ultimately figure out what type of vehicle to buy, what's going to be more cost effective for themselves?
So it's a little bit different than, say, like the EV situation where, obviously the Trump administration is trying to pull back from those and shift the market there. With aluminum and steel, they're so ubiquitous. So there's not one type of vehicle you could say, hey, I'm going to avoid this. There's not too many carbon fiber cars out there that you can affordably swap in for your Ford Explorer or something. So it's going to be, I think the pain will be felt all around. And I think the move right now is if you're in the market, you really want to have your head sort of on a swivel and look for deals, look for any other sort of incentives that automakers or dealers might frankly put on to continue to try to move the metal. Because dealers and automakers, they don't want to start having inventory backup. They don't want a sales slump. So there could be some sort of incentives or things put on more at the manufacturer or the dealership level. If you're in the market, you just want to be extremely vigilant for the next few months and see if that deal that you're looking for is still available and how that impacts your pocketbook.
Greg, always great to get some time with you. Appreciate the breakdown here.
Thank you, Brad.